Thank you for being on this show. Omatseye is my name. Welcome to Big Talk. I have a special guest today. It's not other than Professor Is'haq Oloyede, who is not just the registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, but is seen to have been a disruptive force for good and a model of administration over the past half decade. I welcome you to my show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
When you started your second tenure, there was this video that went viral about how the staff welcomed you back and so on, which is a measure of your internal acceptance. When you get a situation where some people are loved outside and actually not so loved inside. Now, as you move into a very decisive phase of your work here at JAMB, what is going on in your mind?
Yes, thank you very much. I was surprised with the type of welcome I received, because I believe I had been troublesome, and it would have been bye-bye to rubbish, because I felt that I had 5 years and everything had to be done within the 5 years. Understandably, we have to push people beyond their normal pace. So I thought it would be a big relief to many staff who would then feel that they have time to rest. But that was not it. And it was surprising to me. And it's again, to me, an inspiration to do what we have been doing and to continue to give our best to the nation through Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board.
What does it tell you about the nature of the Nigerian worker?
Yes, it tells me that those who are charged with the responsibility of leading at any level should try to understand the nature of the Nigerian worker. The Nigerian worker may complain, and they may even resist change. But I think that many of the workers are appreciative of what is good. They might be frowning at you when you are pushing them, but it also means that they are conscious of the fact that what is good is good. And therefore, the leaders should understand that the fact that a worker protests or a worker resists main push does not mean that that worker prefers to be idle. So I think it says a lot in terms of positive things about the Nigerian worker. And for me, it tells me more than that, because I look at it, could this be deception? Could it be how? What were they trying to communicate? And when I look at it, I feel that it is to say to whom much is given, much is expected. That if we were not there when you were appointed for the first time and we welcome you, and for the second time, we were anxious of your coming and we give you the welcome that shows that we love you, you must also be considerate in what you are doing. You must take us into consideration. You must ensure that whatever you do, you know that we are with you, and therefore you must stay conscious of our own welfare. It says a lot of things. It's because my first reaction was shock, because I tried to avoid it.
Yes,
because
I saw your face. You were not smiling.
I got a hint that some members of staff were waiting for me on Monday morning. So when I was reappointed on Friday, I got the information on Saturday. On Sunday, I came in for the handing over, thinking that, okay, I've come in, and on Monday I didn't show up at all. Okay. But surprisingly, they were still waiting for me on Tuesday. And I appreciate the show of love, and convinced myself that if the staff could say, we love you, you also must love them in return, and you will continue to do what is good. You will continue to do what you are doing, but at the same time, you must reciprocate the good they have shown.
It's like a tough parent who the grown-up later comes to thank.
Yes.
Yes.
Something because I was surprised, because my reading before the end of the tenure was that as soon as I leave, people will be happy that this troublesome man had gone. We can now have our business as usual. But that was not to be, which means I was misreading the mood.
Mm. Yes. Professor Okebukola has described your first tenure as unprecedented. And people have said that you have made innovations in this place of up to 80 or 82 or something like that. So such a sweeping imprimatur of your leadership. What would you say of all you have done has been the most cherished?
For me, what we were doing, or what we have done, is just to find the most efficient way of delivering on our services. And everything we have done is towards cost saving, efficiency, and actual service delivery that the people we are serving will be very happy with. And if I must single out one, what that looks to me as a groundbreaking one was the CAPS. Yeah. Prior to 2016,
that's the
central admission processing system. And on the screen there, you can see that is CAPS for you. What CAPS does is that right from here, as you see on the screen, it is possible for me to monitor what goes on all over the 990 institutions that we have. If in Abakaliki today, the Polytechnic admission officer recommends a candidate to his vice chancellor or his rector for approval or for pushing to JAMB, once the candidate is proposed, I will know. And it will show on the screen. And it will show that it's on this table of the provost or rector. Yeah. And I could call the rector. This had been on your table for 2-3 days. What's happening? Is either you reject or propose or push it forward.
And it shows the eligibility.
It shows the eligibility of everybody. Yes. And it makes it easy, because prior to 2016, what we used to do, and I was involved for at least 20 years of my academic career, is that we have what we call admission meeting, yes, where 2 or 3 persons, at times 4, from each of the institutions will come together, stay in a particular institution with about 80% of the staff of JAMB. That we will go there together. We will be almost 1,000 of us, and we will sit down for 1 week, manually doing the exam. You are doing for this Northeast, you are doing for Northwest, you are doing for Southwest. But unfortunately, it defeats the purpose of JAMB, because at the end of the day, after you return to base, yes, you now discover that the candidate that had been admitted by your own panel, yes, has also been admitted in another panel. So the purpose of JAMB is defeated. So CAPS came in as a way of solving almost all the problems. Number one, you don't need to travel to conduct the examination. Number two, 2 proposals would not be possible. A candidate appears in one place, and when the candidate wishes to change to another place, automatically, once he applies and is approved, It moves automatically with no manual pushing. And it also returns autonomy to the institution, autonomy on admission to the institution. Because in the past, it's possible for anybody from JAMB to give admission and then be pressurizing the institution that, okay, please help me. But that's no longer possible. Any admission not initiated by the institution will not come on CAPS. And if you initiate the process, you must be sure that the person is qualified. In the past, we'll give admission to a candidate and the institution will refuse to register because that candidate had not met the peculiar demand of the institution, of the university or institution concerned. But now, it is the institution that will initiate. And the institution, CAPS also gives the opportunity for the institution and JAMB and all stakeholders to see, to view. Though we cannot do anything about it, but we'll be able to view on what basis is this candidate recommended. Not only that, you can do admission anytime. You initiate it at night, you initiate it in the morning, the registrar can approve midnight, and so on. So movement is reduced. That was one of the abnormality that COVID-19 came to normalize. Because prior to COVID-19, we were moving all about with all this. So we did this not in anticipation of COVID-19, but it became handy during COVID-19 because we wouldn't need to be moving all around. And then it gives a graphic, and you can see from the screen what is going on everywhere. You can ask a head of an institution, why this? Why not this? And any institution, any candidate who feels cheated in the exercise can easily write to JAMB, can complain through the ticketing system, and we give the screen to the candidate to see. You see you are number 40 or number 50 or number 60 on the ranking. Then you can see all others and ask questions. Why was this person admitted without admitting me when I have scored higher than the? All this is possible because it is no longer manual. So as far as I'm concerned, CAPS to me is the best of the innovation. But in addition, we introduced all other issues. Some as can be said to be created by circumstances because our candidates are getting wiser, not wiser, not actually clever, they are getting more corrupt, if I can put it that way. And therefore, we have to be ahead of them. And the candidates themselves are not much of a problem to me. The parents, we are having terrible parents now. Parents who are actively involved and introducing and inducting their own children into corruption. They pay for examination takers. Yes. They involve themselves in trying to look for question papers. They do all sorts of things, yet they claim to be fathers and particularly mothers. I believe that is where the problem, but as they open one end, yes, they show that the JAMB
but one of the tools you are using is technology.
Yes.
Is it possible that you can have, or do you have any technology in mind that will actually be so transparent as to anticipate? Because, there's this proverb in Things Fall Apart that says that as man has learned to shoot without missing, the birds have learned to fly without perching. Yes, but because each time you engage this topic in public, yes, you tend to reveal new tricks that these people have used and how you've caught them. Yes. Is there a template? Are you thinking of a template that will actually anticipate and then?
To me, yes, we could anticipate, but we are also not unmindful of the fact. We are also mindful of the fact that no matter how much you try, you will not be able. Human beings are very creative, either positively or negatively. What we do is that we anticipate and we block as many as possible. But even when they come with their tricks, they will find out that they are caught up by one thing or the other. So recently, for example, somebody went to one of our standard CBT centers in Kogo and was trying to cover the CCTV, the camera, not knowing that there are hidden ones that were positioned. He's trying to cover the one he could see, and another one that
trying to cover.
And we just simply invited him. Or recently, one very otherwise brilliant boy, boy wrote, we just got a letter from a lawyer that we tampered with, we reduced the result of a candidate, we should pay 1 billion naira for embarrassment.
I remember that story.
So when we look at the situation, then what is this? We had fissures. Yes. Immediately they came, we looked at what was claimed to be our result, we saw that the fissures were not there. Yeah. But we didn't tell we said, okay, prove it. But what the boy simply did was to change the name on his, he would save on his phone the name of his own sister, change it to 55019 and save it as 55019, and then use the phone of the sister that he has changed the number to 550 to send the result to himself. And he said, look, I received this from 55019. So, but on pressing the thing, you see that this is the number of the candidate that sent it to you. Who is this person? That said, my sister. So, which means you received it from your sister, but you get 5501. And of course, the boy eventually confessed. So, what is happening is that we are trying as much as possible to envisage what they could do, but the parents, they are too involved. You will see from parents, genuinely, they will be making claims about which they had no competence. Somebody will tell you that in the examination hall, my daughter started the examination and your computer went off and she couldn't finish the examination.
So that's
and
blackmail.
when you go into the system, it's okay, system give us, the candidate attempted all the questions. When you now called, but she didn't perform well, and you now called the parents and the girl, and the little girl said, it was mommy who told me to say that oh, no. I didn't finish. I actually finished, and there was no disruption. And you will see them talking authoritatively. The question is, were you there in the examination hall? So what is happening, and I think what we should do a lot about, is educating the parents on the responsibility they have towards their children, in training them properly and not indulging and introducing them to corruption.
I think we've had for a long time now what they call the miracle centers for WAEC and all of that, and they think that they can extend the miracles. I mean, if you have your A's with miracles, and then you can extend the miracles to the university and UTME and all of that.
I think one of the helpful steps that we have taken is that the Honorable Minister of Education directed JAMB that the picture, the biometrics used by the candidates should be the one to be used for matriculation and for certification eventually.
Consistency.
This had helped us. Because in the past, you do all this trouble, you examine the candidates, and you are certain this is the candidate, but the candidate that will appear at the institution is completely different. And they will take the new picture, take the new something. But what we have seen in the last 1 year is that institutions are now discovering impersonators. Because when candidates go to register, and the picture on the registration was that of an examination taker, and that is the picture that will be used to issue identity card for the institution. And this had revealed a lot. And that is why we have this avalanche of people going to swear to false affidavit that their mother mistakenly put the picture of their sister and so on and so forth. So, but I think they have little chance of going scot-free with JAMB.
It is also interesting that you were a vice chancellor of university, and we all know how you did at Ilorin to raise the standard there. Now, do you get frustrated as a former VC with your former colleague?
What I think is that there are very few of heads of institutions who are unconscious of the full weight of the responsibilities they are carrying. And such people, because they will just feel that I'm not culpable. Once it's not done by me, I'm not culpable. Oh, it is the registrar. Oh, it's the bursar. Forgetting that they have overall responsibility for what happens in the institution. I have seen so many cases that a vice chancellor or a rector or a provost will be pointing fingers at a subordinate as the cause of it. I think the heads of institutions must realize that they are in charge. And as a result of that, they must be conscious of what goes on in the institution and put some mechanism in place to checkmate those who might want to derail the system. I think, except for that, when I was Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin, and when I was representing the Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, my position at that time vis-a-vis JAMB has not changed till today. My position is that institutions all over the world, part of the characteristics of tertiary institutions, particularly universities, is that the institution should have the right to determine who to admit. And which means they should set their own standard. They should set standard, and fortunately, the law establishing JAMB makes that clear, that JAMB will do that in consultation, admission in consultation with the institutions. I've always believed that institutions should also benefit from whatever accrues to JAMB as a result of I'm an advocate of that. And my colleagues, and that's why we look for a way of making sure that at least every year we return about $500 million to the institutions through one way or the other. So all those things I stood for as Vice Chancellor, vis-a-vis JAMB, I still believe in those things, and I am pursuing such positions clearly because they are positions that are not meant or are not based on the fact that I belong to the other side of the divide. So wherever I find myself, I still believe that the right thing to do is to key into the global standards in whatever we do.
Now there was this announcement that each university should present its own cutoff point. And some people have seen this as dumbing down. I mean, there has to be at least a minimum qualification that would think that, please, we don't want this to happen. It will get to a point where maybe in future somebody will say, oh, you came to that university with 120 or 160, and well, I want the one that had 200. I think they had a better standard.
You see, it's a matter of communication. Let me tell you the truth. What we have done this year is what we have been doing in the last 10 years. But we had communication problems. I don't know where people got this issue of national cutoff from. It had never been. What had always been happening in the last 10 years, to the best of my knowledge, is that each institution determines its cutoff point. And it will say, Any candidate, and this is not arbitrary. You will look at the number of candidates that had applied to your university, look at the vacancy available, and you now say, look, I cannot go below this. Draw the line. And each institution will do that, and we will come to what we call policy meeting, national policy meeting. Every institution will submit its own determined cutoff point. And if you say mine is 200, you can never admit 199. If you say mine is 180, you cannot admit 179. But we don't impose the minimum on any institution. We don't even allow it. For example, University of Ibadan would say 200 is my minimum. University of Ibadan cannot recommend to JAMB for approval anybody with 199, because that's the announced and publicized cutoff. For you cannot allow some people to change from your institution and then be recommending lower candidates. So once you announce it, that is it. But what we do is that there are people who recommend, there are institutions who will recommend ridiculously low cutoff. And it will be based on the fact that they have few candidates applying to them. What we normally tell them, this is not acceptable. The minimum acceptable to us is X. We can ask candidates from oversubscribed institutions to change to your institution.
My poem on Leah Sharibu will be read to you now.
Leah, don't worry over our neglect. We humans will fail the heroes of our conscience like you. Evil never deserts us. It comes in beauty and husky stripes of men and women. Men betray, women decay. Even as we dismay, we still embrace. Remain chaste. The human race has never been that great.
Thank you for being on this show, and you can join up with me on my column at www.samomatseye.com. And until next time, be good.